This is a video walkthrough for this 2020 Heartland Mallard M260. We're going to start right next to the entry door here. So right here is the exterior access to your furnace. Just as a caution, when you are using the furnace, this area right here will get warm and the gas coming out of there will get warm. So when your furnace is on, just use caution because the gas coming out here will be quite warm. We don't want anybody getting hurt. Right above that, you have the exterior access to your refrigerator, the back of your refrigerator, where your 12 volt and your 110 will be for the refrigerator, as well as your propane. At the start of every season, I recommend turning these little tabs here and opening this up and just checking to make sure no critters have tried to make a nest or anything in there, so they keep everything clean and clear inside there. Right next to that, you have a 110 GFI protected outlet for anything you want to do outside here. And then you have your freshwater fill. To fill this tank with fresh water, you want to use a nice clean hose and make sure you have clean potable water. You just open this up, insert the hose in this hole, and go to the inside and check your tank reader. And once that tank reader says full, make sure to shut the water off, pull that hose out of there, and reinstall the cap. Right above it, you have your two exterior speakers and the vent for the hood over the cooktop. As you can see, the awning is already extended. If you need to adjust the pitch of the awning, you just come over here to this right here, and you see these little pins in here. You would just push those pins in and either pull towards you or push away from you, depending on if you want the pitch to come down or to go back up. It's the same on both sides. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, so I'm really not going to show you, but you just literally push those pins in, you push them right in, and you'll be able to pull this right down or push it up. And again, it's the same on both sides. And then right here, you have the first compartment door, which gives you access to the front storage compartment here with two lights. To operate these lights, you just push the button in the middle and it turns the light on. Same thing to turn it off. Right here, you have a nice little storage area for these two tools here. This tool, the larger tool, is in case your slide out is out or in and you need it to go out or in and you have no 12 volt and no ability to plug into shore power. There's a slot on the slide out. You can manually crank that slide in. You'd use this tool to do that. And then this tool, the smaller tool here, is for the tongue jack, the electric tongue jack. Same kind of situation. If you're stuck somewhere with no power, no 12 volt, no 110, and you need to either unhook or hook up to this trailer to get it moved, you would pop the little cap that's on top of your electric tongue jack. We'll show you here in a second. You'll pop that little top off there, you'll put that tool in there, and you can manually crank it up or down. And then right here at the front of this compartment, you have two little access doors, which is the access to the switch that controls your stabilizer jacks, which are located here at the front and all the way back there in the back. Kind of can't see from here, but I'll show you when we get back there. So these stabilizer jacks, they're electric, and they're just stabilizer jacks. They're just intended to reduce the sway of the trailer once it's leveled and at the campsite. You would lower these feet down on these jacks, and it'll help it from feeling like a boat. It won't rock so much side to side. That way, if anyone's sleeping or something and you need to keep coming in and out of it, you're not disturbing them, you're not making all that motion. It'll be nice and solid. It'll feel more like a home and less like a boat. And then one thing too, before we get too far away, I don't want to forget to tell you here, right up underneath here, you see this little blue hose with the valve sticking out of it? That is your fresh tank drain. So if you have some leftover fresh water in the tank, or you just need to drain it for some reason, You come out here, you turn that valve, and that will drain all the water out of your fresh tank only. Moving to the front, you have your 12-volt battery here, which powers things like your refrigerator and some of the lights inside the unit. And you must have this battery hooked up and charged in order to operate the slide outs. Right here next to the battery is a cutoff for this battery. When you're storing the unit, I recommend putting it in the off position. Try to save some battery life. When you are using this battery, you obviously want it to be in the on position. But if you're plugged in, you want to make sure it's in the on position. That way, while you're plugged to shore power, it'll actually charge this 12-volt battery for you, so that when you unhook from shore power, you'll have a full charge in that battery, as long as that switch is in the on position there. And this unit's equipped with two 20-gallon propane cylinders. You just turn these valves, turn them on or off. They're labeled pretty clearly. And then this is your propane regulator. It has an arrow to indicate which tank it's going to draw the supply of propane from. This is an auto switchover regulator. That means that if you are drawing from this tank that the arrow is facing at, but you have the valve open on the other tank, once this first tank runs out of propane, it'll just instantly start drawing from the other tank, as long as this valve up here is open. One thing I do recommend though, you can see here the tanks are empty right now. So this is red. When they're green, or when it turns green, you'll know the tanks are full. So like when we fill these tanks up for you, this will be green here. But one thing I do recommend is I personally do recommend leaving this other tank shut off, just so that in say it's getting chilly at night and you're running your furnace and you kind of spend a couple days and you're starting to get low on propane, you don't want to run yourself all the way out of propane. So I would recommend leaving that other tank closed, even though it will automatically switch over. I just recommend leaving it closed. That way you know when you do run out of propane and you don't run yourself all the way out of propane without knowing. This is your electric tongue jack here. And then this is that little cap I was talking about earlier. You would just pull this off of here, and right there's that crank, that manual crank. So in case of emergency, don't worry, you can raise and lower this manually. And then right here is a port for a pre-wired Furrion solar charger that can be installed on the roof, which will trickle charge your 12-volt battery. Being pre-wired, it will help with the installation. So if it's something you want to do down the road, this pre-wiring makes it a little easier. On the left side, you have the other side access to that front compartment here. And you have this switch right here, which controls the docking lights on the front cap. These lights right here, located on both sides of the front cap. And that switch is just right here. Right next to this compartment access, you have your VIN information, your gross vehicle weight ratings, and your tire inflation information. And right below that here, you have your first of two sewage outlets here. This one is for your gray tank, number 2. In order to operate this one, you would take your sewage hose, you would twist this cap off, twist your sewage hose on there, and then you would, once you get that sewage hose ran where it needs to be, come over here, pull that valve out, and let this tank drain. Once it's fully drained, push that valve back in, take your hose off, put your cap back on. Moving to the back of the left side here, this is where your second and main sewage outlet is going to be. Operates the same as the front, but this one is for the gray tank number 1 and your black tank. Same concept as the front. Take the cap off, install the sewer hose, pull the valve on the left for gray tank, and the one on the right there should be the black tank. I recommend doing the black tank first and then using the gray tank water to help flush out that sewer hose. And then I also recommend using your black tank flush, which I'll show you here in a second, when dumping that black tank, just to make sure you get any debris or anything that's caught in there. Give it a nice flush to get all that flushed out of there to keep that tank as clean as you can. Right next to that is your 30 amp shore power receptacle. This is where you're gonna hook up your shore power cord. It does have an indicator light on it to let you know that you do have power going to this cable. And it does have this retaining ring that once you're got it locked in place, you can twist this tight so that that cord can't accidentally get bumped into and pulled out of there. Right above it here, you have an outlet for incoming park cable. So if the RV park you're staying at offers cable, this is where you would hook it up. And if you hook it up in here, you can now hook it up inside the camper and you will have that same cable inside the camper. You have a full-size spare tire mounted on the rear bumper. And then right here you have your city water connection and your black tank flush. That black tank flush is what I was talking about a little bit ago. When you dump your black tank, dump all the, make sure you open the valves all the way up, let everything drain, then come over here with your city water hose, hook it to that black tank flush, let it run for a little bit, clean out that tank real good, unhook it, close it all up, and you're ready to go. Right above that is your city water connection. So if you go to a campground that offers city water, or if you're at your home and you have access to city water, a hose that has city water, you just twist it on there, and that way you can use all your faucets and water heater without having to drain your freshwater tank, without having to use that freshwater tank, or without having to use your water pump, because the city water will pressurize the lines just like your water pump would, so you can leave that water pump off while you use your city water connection. Right next to that, you have the outdoor shower with hot and cold water. Right here is the exterior access to your water heater. When it comes time to use this water heater, I recommend coming out here and making sure that this plug right here is installed so that you can ensure that this tank fills with water and doesn't just drain, because that is the drain for this tank. So make sure that's installed and it's secure, so that way you can fill your tank and then turn it on. Make sure you do not operate this water heater either on gas or electric without filling it with water first. If you operate it without any water in the tank, you run the risk of damaging the heating element, and it would potentially need the heating element replaced, or worst case scenario, the entire water heater to be replaced. So right below that, you have a LP fitting, which is a quick connect. So in case you would like to install a grill, a rear bumper mounted grill, you can buy a quick connect hose, and you can use the propane directly from your propane tanks on the unit without having to have an additional propane supply to run that grill. This unit is equipped with these Mallard steps. They function pretty easily. To put them away, you just pick up on them, push all the way up, and then it locks in place with this mechanism right here. You'll hear an audible click, letting you know that it's secure, it's not going anywhere, not going to fall down on you. To release it, you just pull this blue lever out, come up here to this handle, and pull down on the handle, which it releases the steps. Now you can set them down. Before we set them down, I'm going to show you real quick. You want to make sure these steps are pretty level when using it. This little pin right here, you can kind of see this little pin. It just has this little bearing in it here that you would push this all the way out. Takes a little bit of force, not much. Push that pin out of there, and then it allows this leg to be free and either go in or come out, depending on if you need to extend or retract that foot, depending on the how level or unlevel the ground is. It functions the same on both sides. Remove that pin, slide them feet in or out. One thing to be aware of with these steps is that you do want to make sure that this part of the step is flush with the kicker panel here at the bottom of the door. If it's not, and it's kind of propped up because the ground's so unlevel and you haven't adjusted the feet on the steps, you could damage your entry door when you close it, because the clearance on the entry door wouldn't be enough there, because it is pretty close even though when they're level. So if it's at all unlevel, you could potentially damage the bottom of your entry door, and we don't want that. So just make sure that this kick plate here is nice and flush with this kick plate here. Your fire extinguisher is located right there. When you first walk in the unit, you're going to see this door here to the first storage closet. There's no light switch for this light. It's just one of the center push button lights. Right next to this door, you have controls for your awning. You have the slide out controls, and then you have some light switches right here. This switch here controls the awning lights. This one here is for your porch light, and this one here is for the main interior lights in the unit. This unit is also pre-wired for a WineGuard Connect system. So if you want some extended Wi-Fi at the campground, you can install a WineGuard system that you would power on at this switch here. Since it's pre-wired, that'll help with the installation. We're gonna do a quick 180 here before we look at the rest of the unit. We're gonna check out the bathroom. This bathroom has a sliding door that has a travel lock. You just twist this little tab here, move that out of the way. Now the door slides freely. Inside the bathroom, you have your faucet, some nice storage space, and then a 110 GFI protected outlet. You also have an exhaust fan in your ceiling vent here. To operate the ceiling vent, you just pull down gently on this and move it until those teeth lock into one of the grooves there. And to power the fan, you just turn this switch on right here, which powers the fan. To operate this, you just kind of hold and push it in, pull it closed so you don't make a mess in the shower. And then the same thing, push it in. Careful, it does have a little bit of tension on it. Don't let it snap. And then right here in the bathroom, you have your tank readers. Also the light switch for the light in the bathroom is right here. But you have your battery, your fresh tank, your black tank, and then your 2 gray tanks. You also have the switch for your water pump and your LP, or your water heater on LP, which is propane, or electric. So if you want to use that water heater, come over here to either turn on the electric or the LP or the electric side, and give it a little bit of time. That water will heat up. If you're not using city water, you're gonna have to turn this pump on and make sure your fresh tank has some water in it, and then you can use your faucets with that water pump on. Right here is your entertainment center with a location for a TV to be mounted. If you mount a TV, it must be mounted in this location here because there is a backer plate behind here to give you something to mount to. If you mount it somewhere else in the camper, there is no backer plate, and that will fall off the wall eventually. So you got to make sure you mount it anywhere there is a TV backer location. You have a 110 outlet here for the TV, and then you have your antenna, or your cable for your antenna. Your booster for your antenna is right here. You simply push it in to boost the signal and push it out to not boost the signal. Right below that you have your radio with 2 different zones, one for interior speakers, one for exterior speakers. Other than that, it's pretty standard radio controls. And then right below that, you have the fuse panel / breaker box for the entire unit. You just push that to open it. And then here's all your fuses and breakers in the unit. They are all labeled. Next to that, you have your Dinette refrigerator with the new doodle station. It's a chalkboard finish. The controls for your refrigerator are going to be located right here when you open the freezer door. Simple on-off switch, and it will run on auto unless you specifically take this and push this out, which will now run it on propane. You have to make sure you have your 12-volt battery charged up for this refrigerator to work, because if the 12-volt battery is not charged, it will not run. Just gotta turn that off. Then you have your microwave, this hood range or hood vent for your range down here, switches for the light and the fan, and then you have your cooktop and oven. To lift this splash guard here, you just pick it up, push it back, and then it goes all the way up and it kind of pushes in place. Now to ignite, and then you have a light switch right here. Just turns the lights on for you. And then this is equipped with an electronic spark igniter. So if you want to ignite your burners, you just go over to whichever burner you want to start, turn it to that flame position right there, and give this a good couple of twists, and you will light the burner. But again, there's not much propane in here, so I'm not going to show you the burners lit because we don't have enough propane for that. The oven functions the same way. You just come over here, push this to the flame position, and once it's in that flame position, you just twist your sparker here and it will ignite and begin to heat the oven. And you have your sink with retractable head here for doing dishes. It also has 2 different spray modes, solid stream and more of a shower style stream. Right here you have your thermostat, which controls your AC as well as your furnace. To operate this, you just touch this button here, that'll wake it up, the screen will turn blue. Right now I have the AC on. If I leave it right here, see the furnace sign there, the AC will shut off and the furnace will kick on. This is 100% off, both AC and furnace is now off. Now just your fan will run on your AC, or the AC itself will run now. To adjust the temperature, you just push these arrows up or down. This can go into Celsius if you push both these buttons. Oops, do it a little better here. Both these buttons at the same time. If I can get it here. There we go. So if that accidentally gets bumped like that and you come inside and it says 13 degrees, it's really not 13 degrees in here. You just accidentally got it bumped into Celsius, and you can flip it right back into Fahrenheit. Then you have the master bed area with 2 more of those push button lights. Some nice storage compartments with storage also underneath the bed here. You just pick that little cabinet up right there to access the storage underneath the bed. It also has a sliding door, just like the bathroom in the rear. Just locks in place with this travel lock here. Just turn that, open the door. And then there's also another area to mount ATV with access for the antenna and electrical outlets. Right over here is your emergency exit window. In case of emergency, this window can be used as an exit. In order to do that, you just push this little tab down, which picks up this red handle. You push that red handle straight out, and it'll go all the way out of there. There is a spot for it to rest in case you just want the window open. Just if you just want the window open, you rest in a little spot. But if you need to get out, you'd push this tab all the way out of there, and the window would open up fully. And then you'd come over here and grab this little red button here to easily get the screen out so you can exit in case of emergency. Here you have your dinette and couch. They both fold into sleeping areas. This dinette has a strap around the table for travel. It just straps in, it locks down here, and then straps up there, straps into place. When you want to use this as a bed, you just fold the table down, and the table rests on these blocks right here, and then you can adjust the cushions to make it into a bed. The couch is a pull-out couch. You simply pull the cushions on the back off, pick up on the bottom or the front of the couch here, pick up, and then pull towards yourself. But while this is up, you're gonna wanna make sure you pull these feet down right here, making sure that the couch doesn't fall all the way down. So now that these legs are out, you can pull that down, come back here, flip the back of this down, and now you have another sleeping area. And then you have light switches right there, which control the lights. Those mood lights right there behind the valances, and the lights in the slide out. Now we'll conclude this walkthrough on this 2020 Heartland Mallard.